Hey guys, Dazanar here. Welcome back to part 2 of my mushroom experience guide. I hope you will forgive me if I pause the video and interrupt myself to look at my own script that I have here. I'm very amateur when it comes to script reading. So this is part 2, and in the first part I talked about what you should do building up to taking your sacrament. I like to call it a sacrament because and in this part I'm going to talk about the different levels of taking this and what kind of experience you get from that. And what I mean by levels is doses and the corresponding mental psyche effects that those doses can have on you. So let's just talk about the different stages of doses. So a microdose can range anywhere from generally it's like 0.1 gram, but it can be 0.05 grams, so like a half of a tenth of a gram. So it can be a really small amount, and the purpose is not to even feel it, right? It's just to introduce this compound into your body so your body can assimilate it over a long period of time and hopefully help your body. Personally, I've never long-term microdosed. The only time I did that was when I was really first into exploring how to forage for these. And I would collect small little bits, and I would take one of those or so a day. And I did that for a little while, but personally, I don't know if I felt much from it, but I wasn't really consistent with it. I have friends who microdose or have microdosed, and they have told me that they've gotten a lot of benefits from it. And I have friends, it's all anecdotal, so I'm sorry, I can't really speak much on the microdosing. I can only tell you the levels, and it's like from that really low 0.05, 0.1 grams up to 0.25 grams, and that's sub level where you're going to be feeling it. You might kind of start to notice something's different at that level at about an hour and a half to 2 hours in, maybe 3 hours in. You kind of start, things are a little different, but you might feel a better appreciation and connection to things too, but it's really subtle, and that's the whole microdose. And then you've got the light threshold dose, which is like half a gram to a gram. And at this experience, you're it takes about an hour to kick in if you're just eating it, and your mind starts with kind of this opening expanse feel, and you kind of feel like you're onto something in a sort of way, and that the world itself around you even feels more open, and you're kind of connected with it, and it's very soothing. But it can also be very even the small amount can be very anxiety building, because you're not used to this capacity of the mind to be able to just appreciate like this, to just be able to do this. So me personally, I can only tell you from my personal experience, like the self-projections of the mind interfere with your own peace and harmony, and you can start right here having your bad trip by not dismantling your own self-projections, your own negative self, right? That can get out of control and spiral you right here at the first hour mark into a bad trip. So that's why practicing the meditation is super important, so that you can be mindful of when you're doing this and let it go. And that's kind of the whole experience for the half a gram to 1 gram. It's just this mindful openness. Colors might start appearing sharper. Your visual acuity will pick up. I don't know how else to explain it. You can see a little bit better. It's suspected that's why hunters maybe kind of did this in the first place. Like, they had their experience, but they also noticed that they were better at recognizing patterns, which is what on the higher amounts you're gonna see. So after the threshold amount, which will go to the 1 to about 1.75 grams of dried P. cubensis, which is a baseline strength. It's a good strength for mushrooms. So at about this level, you're going to start, the openness is going to be way more intense. So if you're prone to anxiety, it's going to be a lot more intense too, because you're just going to be feeling that more expanded and open-minded. And at about the 1.5 to 2 hour marks, you are probably going to start noticing bodily changes, your body kind of reacting to the psychedelic and thinking something is weird. For me, what happens is I usually have to go to the bathroom. I got to go number 2. Like, it happens with MDMA, it happens with LSD, it happens with mushrooms. My body's like, yo, you gotta go. And so I'm like, okay, it's time to go to the bathroom. And this is about the same time that my body, at this point, about 1.5 to 2 hours in, starts to notice waves, small waves, at a small amount of this 1 to 1.75. And you're definitely gonna start seeing color patterns, light color patterns, and things are gonna just feel really fluffy, very light. You're still gonna be fighting those inner demons though. You're gonna have to be mindful of that always. In my experience, I'm always fighting those inner demons. If you're better at fighting those, you're gonna have a much better time on these experiences too, is what I've come to find out. Like, I have friends who have way easier times on these experiences than me, but they'll also be like, wow, Michael is getting a lot out of these experiences, because struggle creates work, creates, product at the end. But so at this range, you're gonna start to get more visualization, but it kind of stops there, and it goes in waves, and you'll be at like 2 hours in, you're kind of like having a lot of visuals on the wall, and maybe it's starting to breathe, and then like 40 minutes later, it's not so much doing that, and you're like, it's over. And then like 10 minutes after you had that thought, it comes back, and you're like, oh, it's actually a little more. And it goes away another little bit, and it comes back another time. So the mushroom experience will do that over about 6 hours. 6 hours is about the max line for mushrooms. LSD for some people will last longer. Like for me, LSD can last a whole 12 or more hours of interesting peaks like that. But mushrooms, I fall in line with most other people, which is about 5 to 6 hours. The experience starts waning off. Yeah, and so you kind of have a little fun time on that 1 to 1.75. Once you start getting into the moderate dose, which 2 to 3 grams, I would say is a moderate normal dose range. And that's where you're gonna start definitely struggling with what's happening around you, especially if you've never experienced something like this before. It's almost like a warping of reality in different ways. So the colors and everything that I was telling you about, when you take higher doses, they just come on faster and harder. So if you took, let's just say 2.5 grams, which is actually still on the low end of the moderate dose, it's generally 3 to 3.5 grams, honestly, for a very powerful experience though, nonetheless. At 2.5 grams, you'll start feeling things within 45 minutes. And within like 60 minutes, those walls are probably gonna start breathing at you. And the colors are gonna be a bit more vivid than at the 1.75 mark. And visual distortions and hallucinations are definitely gonna start to be coming on at this point. I can't explain what kind of visual distortions or hallucinations you're gonna see, because it seems to me, in my experience, everyone's got their own little thing they get shown by these compounds. And some people legitimately see demons on LSD and stuff. Like on mushrooms, I've never seen something like that. I have some cool experiences on much higher doses though. But at around this range, the 3 range, I've seen a faded kind of Godzilla in downtown Orlando. And it was just my imagination playing tricks with me in clouds and stuff, and like me wanting to see what I was seeing. And this is kind of Godzilla kind of like eating downtown Orlando, as I was sitting with 2 friends, and my body was starting to sink below the soil level that I was at. And this really got me uncomfortable. Like, I was like, okay, I've never felt anything like that. That's really weird. It's like, it didn't feel real at all. And often people will get like this brain feel, like a drip feel. You just feel your body so much more when you're connected on these substances. And a lot of people aren't going to tell you that you might start writhing and wriggling on these substances because the sensations are so much at this point. So you might be doing sensations that your ego is going to be seeming weird, but it's really your body just trying to handle this crazy experience that you have no idea of. Like, imagine you're just a circle and a sphere is being pushed through you. I don't know how better to describe it. It's another dimensional like kind of thing coming into you for a little bit, and you get to experience that. And it can cause a lot of discomfort, mental discomfort, hard truths that you have to face, that you face your own traumas. It's really hard. I want to stress that, guys. It's really hard. You can have a bad time, but practicing mindfulness, forgiving yourself, and just being open to the universe in general can help you navigate through these hard times into a better sailing and into a calmer sea, and to asking questions to the experience. You can talk to the experience. You can talk. You can pray. You can meditate on yourself if you want to. Like, you can do these things, and like, you don't know what's gonna happen, but like, you should be open to what's gonna happen. That's what I've learned. I've learned to be open to what's happening to me and not deny it, because in denying it, the visuals will get more intense for me. I'll talk about that in other videos and stuff, but that's just the moderate dose. Then you've got the 3.5 to the 5 gram range, and that is what Terence McKenna recommends you take in a room by yourself. And this is really where you start. If you close your eyes, you're gonna be seeing fractally kind of things. You're gonna be seeing possibly hieroglyphic style kinds of colors and hallucinations. Like, there's no other way. And at this range, like, the whatever I talk to on the mushrooms personally is like showing me movies. I don't know how else to tell you guys. It's like just showing me movies that I need to see. So that's crazy, right? So that's just on the moderate, like the heavy. That's the heavy dose. That's the heavy dose, and it's intense. I don't know how you handle it, so you have to be careful with these things, and never let anyone peer pressure you into doing these substances, right? Always make sure this is what you want to do. Always start low. Train yourself. Understand yourself, right? You never want to dive deep into these universal exploding concepts that will happen on these substances if you take these really, really high doses, that you won't have control. That's the thing. You don't have control. You won't have control. And that's not even the tippy top of the tippy top. Like, you can go up to 7 grams. You can go up to 9 grams. I have a friend who's done 21 grams. He recorded it. YouTube took that video down. He had it up for a long time. He wasn't really glorifying. He was just, no one at the time was showing people doing these kinds of things. And he did it at a park, and he said people's faces kind of turned into aliens, and it was really weird and off for him. But he didn't really have spiritual kind of experiences on his psychedelics. Like, I almost always have spiritual kind of experiences, but that just might be my mindset. You never know, right, guys? So just be open. But my personal experience with it, over 7 grams. Yeah. One time, there was a hurricane that came through here not too long ago, like came right through Central Florida. And I took care of the house, made sure it wasn't flooding out, made sure to calm my mom down, tell her we didn't need to evacuate, we got it all. And at a certain time, I had, well, it's not fair because I did 2 substances. I took some MDMA because I wanted to. I hadn't in a long time. And this felt like a really fun time to try it out. And for a while, I was on the MDMA, really enjoying the experience, making sure the house was okay, and I knew everything was okay at that point. And I just had this thought, I want to go far. And for me, it's really hard to go far because of anxiety. Like, the anxiety you get from this, from yourself, is so powerful. And it can really send you off into a bad trip. I get sent off into bad trips all the time, and I have to dig myself out of them. And it's a powerful experience. So I was like, but I'm on MDMA. I feel beautiful. I feel like everything is beautiful. Like, I just didn't have any friends around me because like we're in a hurricane and it sucked. So I was like, I'm just gonna go deep into myself on mushrooms. So I started off with 5 grams of mushrooms. And then I was like, you know what? Like an hour into it, I started to feel the mushrooms. I was like, let's just go deeper, because like, why not? Like, I'm gonna stay up at this point. And it's like 3 or 4 in the morning. And so I took another 4 grams for a total of 9 grams, 9.5 grams, something like that, of mushrooms. And it started to kick in around 5 a.m. like, and the storm's still just like blowing 100-mile-an-hour gusts of wind at us every occasionally with 70-mile-an-hour gusts. And I just went out with, I don't know if I had my GoPro. I think I had my phone or my GoPro at like 5 something, maybe 6 something in the morning. And I just went out around my neighborhood and recorded pitch blackness and me talking. But it's what I was seeing and feeling that was just like amazing. The electricity in the air, the energy from the storm, and within it all, I was seeing hallucinations of Native Americans from long ago, and they were also dealing with a hurricane, and they were climbing up an Indian mound that they had created to escape from the flooding that was happening nearby on their river. And it was just a whole bunch of them scattering up while the lightning was happening around them. And some of them looked very fearful, and some of them were just like, this is the way. We're gonna make it through this. This is our way. And if you know anything about Florida, which I didn't know a lot at that time specifically about what I'm gonna tell you, the Native Americans would build Indian mounds, which this isn't, this is a golf course, but they would build Indian middens out of their shells and pottery that they would break and throw away, and their bones and stuff like that. They would build up piles, and these would be higher up in elevation. They would serve as scout areas, as ceremony areas, and areas to evade flooding and mosquitoes. So I was shown a vision of this, like, this is how we naturally handled this. And it was really cool. I don't know what that meant to how we handle it now, but for the rest of that experience, I went around my town and was just looking around and seeing how we can improve things and be a better society. But that vision into the past was real to me, and it was the Aztec kind of patterns I was seeing with my eyes closed. It just, I don't know how that happens. I don't know what causes that. It's just magical. Really peace inside. So this was a super long part 2. Oh my gosh, this is gonna take like a whole day to upload, guys. Hope you guys like it. I don't think there's anything else I need to talk about. Like, I talked about the heroic dose, the microdose, oh right, how it fades away, and tolerance integration. Let me wrap this up then. So it kind of just tapers away. Yeah, at like the 6-hour mark, those waves that I'm talking about, you kind of have one last wave and it just goes down, and you feel this really calm sense of being and connected witness for like the next day, or until you fall asleep, generally for most people. But you can carry that into the next day. You want to carry that into your entire life, right? And remember to empower everyone and each other, and swallow the boat. To have intent with all this, right? Not to just try and be too selfish with it, right? We're trying to help ourselves and the universe, I think. On top of that, the last little bit is tolerance and integration. You can't do these like every day. You can't. They have like a 2-week cooldown. There's this like kind of graph where once you take it, the next day it would take like 200% more of that substance, whether it's mushrooms or LSD. They share a tolerance. Like, it's interesting how they share a tolerance. Not exactly sure why, because they won't study it. But they have a 2-week curve. So it starts off at like 200%, And then over 2 weeks, it starts going down, 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 to where after about, at the 2 week mark, you're at baseline and you could have a fresh experience with that compound again. And that's what's known as tolerance. And it's different with other substances, but with mushrooms specifically, you should generally wait 2 weeks before you try and have another experience. And if you're a younger person, I would wait even longer, because these experiences are very powerful and you need to integrate what you learned into your life so that you don't disrespect yourself or the compound. Like, you can't just trash your body thinking you can go around doing a whole bunch of different things that'll spin you all kinds around mentally. You need to make sure you're mentally sound. You don't want to be lost for years, because these substances can do that if you're not careful. You have to be very careful. And if you're elderly taking this, I don't have a lot of experience with too many elderly friends taking this, but anecdotally what I know online is you've had a lot of experience in your life, and you generally know more so than others after you've had these compounds what to do with them. So I leave that in your responsible and hopefully wise hands if you're you know, in your higher years and thinking about what these things can do for you, because they can help. I can't like guarantee that, because I've had experiences where it seems like it didn't help on different things, you know, but I know they can help. And you know, the science is kind of showing that it can help. People are saying it can help. We need help. Like, our society definitely needs help, you know. So that was a very long video, guys. Thank you for watching. Hope you comment, like, and subscribe. Please subscribe. Thank you, guys. I love you all.